What's up YouTube? It's Brunner back with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about how I lost 100 pounds. Now this took me several years to do, but I'm going to condense all of that information and knowledge that I learned over that time down into about 10 minutes. So if you haven't already, go ahead and click that subscribe button and leave a comment down below for the YouTube algorithm. Now I broke this down into 5 different phases, with the first one being awareness. So weight loss is all about calories in versus calories out. If you're expending more calories than you're taking in, you're going to lose weight. And if you're taking in more calories than you're burning, the opposite's going to happen. Now, a good way to be able to kind of keep track on where things are is by entering your information into a TDEE calculator and by using MyFitnessPal. Now, MyFitnessPal will keep track of all the calories you have coming in, and this TDEE calculator is going to tell you roughly the amount of calories that you burn on a daily basis. Now, once you know what you have coming in and going out, this gives you a good baseline to work with. Now, with this baseline, we can modify the amount of calories that we're eating to either increase or decrease them, and we can do the same with our activity level and use these two things together to enter into a calorie deficit. So phase 1 got me from 269 pounds down to about 220, and phase 2 got me from about 220 to 200. So phase 2, we have intolerances and allergens. Now, after my first phase, I lost a bunch of weight. I'd gone from about 269 down to maybe 220, and I wasn't really feeling any better. I noticed that I was still having migraines, I was still having brain fog, still had chronic fatigue, and I couldn't figure out why. Now, normally when you lose a bunch of weight, you start to get more energy and just kind of feel better all around, and that wasn't happening for me. So I decided to look a little more in depth at what I was eating. And I did an elimination diet where I cut out all foods except the ones that I know I could eat. So for me, I cut it down to ground turkey breast and potatoes. And I knew that those foods were fine with me, so I added in all the other foods one at a time. Now, a good place to start here is with some of the big food allergens like dairy, eggs, soy, nuts. For a lot of people, they don't tolerate them well, and it can make them feel bloated or tired or kind of brain foggy. And so once we clean that up, we can really start to look at getting the most out of our calorie deficit. Alright, phase 3, if it fits your macros. First of all, what are macros? Macronutrients are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Now, you eat protein to rebuild your muscles, fats keep your hormones in balance, and carbohydrates provide energy. So the theory is that by eating certain amounts of all of these, you can optimize your body to either gain weight or lose weight and have most of the weight gain be muscle, most of the weight lost be fat, and really keeping these in that ideal proportions to each other is supposed to help you improve your body composition. So if it fits your macros is the theory that you can eat whatever foods you want as long as they fit in those quantities of macronutrients that you determine. Personally, I eat about 200 grams of protein, about 60 or 70 grams of fat, and the rest in carbohydrates depending on if I'm bulking or cutting. And this really helped me break through my plateau that I hit at about 200 pounds. I couldn't lose any more weight, so I started really looking more into what I could do with my diet. And I figured out that I could up my protein, I could decrease the fat a little bit, I could eat smarter carbohydrates, less processed things, more fruits, and just better quality calories. This helped me go from about 200 pounds to 180 pounds. The only thing is, the lower I got when I cut body fat, the harder it got to stick to this diet. And the reason for that is, if it fits your macros, it gives you a lot of freedom. And with my freedom, some of the foods that I was eating would be really high in carbohydrates. They'd spike my blood sugar way up, cause the insulin to go up, and that causes cravings. And I would kind of bounce around between 180 and 190 for a while because this wasn't sustainable for me below a certain point. The more weight that you cut, the harder it is to cut weight, both mentally and physically. Your body tries to hold on to it, and you have to come up with So very specific ways to kind of convince your body to keep losing fat. All right, phase 4, intermittent fasting and clean dieting. So intermittent fasting over here is when you restrict your calories that you consume in a day into a certain time period. For me, that was between 1 p.m. and 8 p.m. And the reason for doing this is that when you're in a caloric deficit, it gets pretty tricky to keep cutting weight. You're kind of hungry all the time. You're never really satisfied with your meals. You tend to not feel very good. And by intermittent fasting, restricting those calories into a smaller time period, you're really going to allow yourself to eat bigger meals and feel more satisfied afterwards. When you do cardio with intermittent fasting, aka fasted cardio, your body uses some of the stored fat that you have as energy to fuel that activity, and that's going to help you further increase your fat loss. I noticed that my cravings went down when I started doing this. It's because I felt more satisfied after every meal, and that combined with clean dieting really allowed me to take my physique to the next level. Clean dieting for me is eating really lean meats, a lot of ground turkey breast, fruits and vegetables, really cutting out all the processed stuff, all the crappy food, and really eating like whole foods basically. And when you do this, that's also going to help reduce cravings. Your insulin isn't going to be spiking all over the place if you're not, eating like ice cream and drinking soda, and you're keeping everything relatively stable. All the fruits and vegetables have a lot of fiber in them with those carbs, so it kind of mellows everything out. When I'm clean dieting, I feel a lot healthier. I notice that my skin looks better. I'm less tired, less brain fog, and my mood is way better. A lot of people that practice clean dieting will say the same thing. I mean, when you increase the quality of food that you're eating and how you're eating it, it makes sense that you feel better doing it. And when we're in a steep caloric deficit, the last thing we want is to feel worse. So if we're trying to do everything in our power to really break through that last plateau and really get to that, cut six-pack that we've always wanted, this is what it's going to take. The combo of intermittent fasting and clean dieting is what really helps me get to the next level. It helped me get all the way down to 169 pounds. I didn't even want to lose any more weight because I felt like I was getting too lean. I didn't want to lean out more than that without having a little bit more muscle. The summer that I did this, I wound up working at a pool, and the compliments that I got were crazy. Like, everyone would come up to me, they'd compliment me on my physique, on the abs, on everything. And after I'd been fat for so long, this was totally new to me. And I noticed that all around, how people treated me was a lot different. My quality of life improved by a fair amount. And I enjoyed things a lot more. I was having more fun. I was happier. I was more confident in myself. But at the same time, it's really difficult to maintain a body fat percentage that's like less than 10%. Your body has mechanisms in place to stop you from starving. And when you start to get pretty lean, some of these things can get pretty intense. You kind of start to feel run down, kind of more tired. But the dark side of being lean is a video for another day. Now we're going to move into phase 5 and really hammer this home. Phase 5, the little things. These are things that didn't really fit into other parts, but they're all really important, and when you bring them together, they're going to help you take everything to the next level. The first thing I want to talk about is diet breaks. When you're on a heavy calorie deficit for months at a time, you start to feel pretty run down, tired, hungry, craving things all the time. Your metabolism starts to slow down a little bit, and you don't see the same results that you were early on. So by taking about 2 weeks here and going back to maintenance calories and kind of taking a little bit of time to relax and not stress yourself out over being in a high deficit 24/7, it's going to bring your metabolism up a little bit. You're going to start to have more energy. You're going to feel a little bit better, and when you get back to the cut again, you're going to start to lose fat again if you plateaued at any point. Refeed days I also found to be helpful. When you're eating low carbs for weeks on end, it really sucks all of the glycogen out of your muscles. Your body uses that first before it starts to break into your fat stores, and it makes you feel kind of tired, kind of lethargic. It's not very good all around. Having a refeed day once a week where you spike your carbs up pretty high and kind of refill those glycogen stores is a way to kind of mitigate how crappy you feel. Another thing that helped me a lot were using different diet products, like diet soda in particular was something that added some flavor, made me feel full. Just stuff that on a low-calorie diet kind of gives you more, makes you feel more satisfied out of everything. Sleep isn't exactly a little thing. That's really important. It's a foundation on which everything else is built. Sleep is when you do all of your recovering, basically. Your body releases a lot of growth hormone. It takes care of your ligaments and tendons, really heals all your muscles. It does different things with your brain. And if you're sacrificing sleep, you're going to run into a lot of problems and you're going to hit a lot of plateaus that you don't want. You're already stressing your body out a lot by being in a steep calorie deficit for so long, and you don't really want to aggravate it if you can avoid it. Alcohol is also something that you can consume if you want, but it's really up to you. When I got to 169 pounds, I was drinking through that. It was the summer before I started at KU, so I was going out with my cousin and we were drinking a little bit, we were working once in the summer. And although it can be done, I could definitely feel like it was putting more stress on my body. And when you're already in a calorie deficit and you're at the end of it and you're so close to your goal, the last thing you want to do is add more stress, as that can manifest in different kind of health problems. So I did it at the time and I was kind of amazed that I was able to handle it. But moving forward, it wouldn't be something that I'd do again. I would wait to drink alcohol until I was done with my cut, and even then I would try to drink it in moderation. I would drink less and not go too overboard with it, because that can definitely, you can definitely fall off a lot more easily when you're consuming alcohol. It kind of erodes your willpower, or at least it did for me, in terms of like cravings. If I was craving something when I was sober, if I drank any alcohol, it would almost be kind of like just a craving that you couldn't fight off, and I wound up kind of screwing up my diet once or twice, and I wound up compensating for it by eating less the next day or the day after that, and it turns into this cycle that puts even more stress on your body, and we want to minimize that as much as possible to get to where we're going. And now for phase 6, the YouTube algorithm. If you guys could subscribe, click that notification bell, and then comment down below, that would help me out an enormous amount. The way that YouTube channels can grow and get better and bigger is by hitting the YouTube algorithm, and all of these things here, subscribing, the notification bell, commenting, they all really help me out in doing that, and it would mean the world to me if you guys could subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment down below. Thanks.